Tonight, worldwide condemnation. Russian leader Vladimir Putin triggers diplomatic fury over the suspected murder of his jailed opponent.
Breaking news, more illegal immigrants discovered in WA.
New sites identified in Sydney's asbestos crisis. The mulch company fights to clear its name.
A driver accused of hitting a teenage boy and fleeing turns himself in.
Donald Trump's big loss. His business empire fined $500 million.
And what a night. Taylor Swift brings the house down in her biggest ever show.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Michael Usher and Angela Cox.
Good evening. The death of Kremlin critic Alexi Navalny has sparked a fresh flashpoint with Russia. The Western world is tonight pointing the finger at one man, Vladimir Putin.
It set off a diplomatic storm, the Albanese government telling 7 News it will call in the Russian ambassador for a dressing down.
Vladimir Putin was so threatened by this man, it wasn't enough to lock him up.
We are just coming back, joining you with breaking news. CNN has learned that Alexi Navali has died.
In the final hours of Alexi Navalny's life, he appeared gaunt but still smiling. By the morning, Russian prison guards were claiming he'd fallen ill while out walking and died suddenly.
Make no mistake, Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Putin is responsible.
The American president's remarks shared by Australia.
And we hold Vladimir Putin and the Russian regime responsible for this death in prison.
The fact that Mr. Navalny's been poisoned, that he's been tortured, ultimately all of that falls at the hands of Vladimir Putin.
Navalny was jailed in 2021, accused of terrorism for challenging the Russian president and exposing corruption. In December, he was moved even further out of sight to an Arctic penal colony known as the Polar Wolf. Just hours after learning of her husband's death, Yulia Navalnaya telling a security conference in Munich,
I want Putin and everyone around Putin, Putin's friends, his government, to know that they will bear responsibility for what they did to our country, to my family and to my husband. And this day will come very soon.
An embrace too with the European Commission president. As opposition leader and an outspoken Kremlin critic, Navalny inspired a wave of government protests. Such a thorn in Putin's side, he soon became a target, barred from running for president, then poisoned with a nerve agent on a flight from Serbia to Moscow. After an emergency landing and months of treatment in Germany, he defiantly returned to Russia, knowing he'd be arrested on his return or worse.
Не надо, нельзя сдаваться. Если это произошло, это означает, что мы необыкновенно сильны в этот момент.
We cannot take democracy for granted. We need to cherish it and nurture it.
Only days ago, Navalny posted a Valentine's greeting to his wife. I feel you are near me every second, and I love you even more. He also leaves behind 2 children and many more Russian supporters, reminded tonight of the dire consequences if they dare question Putin's iron grip on the country. In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Let's go to some breaking news now, and more illegal immigrants have been found in Western Australia. Let's go to political reporter Isabelle Mullen in Canberra. Izzy, there's concerns a second boat could have arrived.
Yeah, there are, Michael. Good evening. A group of 13 men has been found after walking into a campsite at Pender Bay. It's a remote outstation north of Beagle Bay where a group of 30 men were taken into custody yesterday. This second group had cuts and other injuries from scrambling on rocks and walking through mangroves. The Home Affairs Minister has stressed they were found at the same time as the first group, but the government hasn't ruled out the prospect that a second asylum boat may have made it to land. Stuck on a bus after 5 days at sea, approaching a flight no one wants to board. 30 asylum seekers from Pakistan and Bangladesh, all hoping to call Australia home.
People who attempt to arrive here by boat will not settle here.
They arrived at Beagle Bay, a remote Indigenous community 100 kilometres north of Broome, walking for hours to find water, now told they'll be sent to Nauru.
The Labor government should have closed offshore detention when it got elected. They've gone through a hell of a lot.
I don't want to go back to Pakistan. They're not like like they're treating us like a human being.
The coalition blames the release of 149 detainees into the community.
If they see any weakening in the policy, they will pay their money and get on a boat.
Asylum seekers have long been a political football, the coalition introducing Operation Sovereign Borders in 2013.
You've got to stop the boats.
The number of reported boat arrivals dropped from 300 to 1 in 1 year. Since Anthony Albanese was elected, at least 2 have made it to shore. Asylum seekers sent to Nauru for the first time in a decade.
I know exactly how these people smugglers work. They will react to a weak Prime Minister and to a weak Minister. And if they see vulnerabilities, they will exploit them.
But today, Border Force issued a rare warning that politicising the matter will make it worse, insisting their approach hasn't changed since Operation Sovereign Borders began. Any alternate narrative will be exploited by criminal people smugglers.
You will never settle in Australia. You have zero chance of success.
The same outcome, regardless of who's in power. Isabelle Mullen, 7 News.
In a heartbreaking development, it's been revealed a family involved in a deadly crash near Dubbo had been on the way to the Taylor Swift concert in Melbourne. Angelique Opie is in the newsroom. Angelique, a 16-year-old girl died in the crash.
Angela, 2 girls and their mum were inside this car when it collided with a semi-trailer near Dubbo on Thursday night. The eldest sister died at the scene. The 10-year-old girl was airlifted to Westmead Hospital in a critical condition after suffering a suspected brain injury and lower body injuries. The girl's godmother said it was meant to be a road trip of a lifetime for this Gold Coast family to see Taylor Swift perform. A GoFundMe page has now been set up to support the family. It's understood the mother is still in Dubbo Hospital and has not yet been able to see her surviving daughter in Sydney.
OK, Angelique Opie, thank you. The company at the centre of Sydney's asbestos saga will fight an order blocking the on-selling of its mulch. The deadly substance has now been identified at 4 new locations as crews scramble to give the site of Sydney's Taylor Swift concert the all clear.
Munn Park at Millers Point, the start of a harbourside walking track, now also home to asbestos-laden mulch.
Going to go down this way, get away from it. I don't know that it's a public health danger, but I'm sure that they will clean it all up and replace it.
That sounds bad, yes. Asbestos, bad.
It's one of 7 new sites to test positive overnight, along with the Lambie Heights Public School, 2 construction sites and 3 private properties, as fire and rescue crews join the fight to find them all.
This is a major boost to our ability to rapidly test and trace this supply chain issue down to a firm conclusion as quickly as possible.
The EPA says each contamination can be traced back to a single company. It has been banned from on-selling its mulch, but will fight it in court next month.
As far as the polluter being responsible, under New South Wales law, if you contribute to pollution or cause pollution, you are liable for the full cost of remediating and cleaning up that pollution.
That cost could be as high as $1 million.
The EPA is also continuing to test mulch on a median strip here at Sydney Olympic Park. But it insists the Blink 182 and Taylor Swift concerts will go ahead.
The initial batch of testing there is all negative. I understand the impacted material is on a median strip in a road. It's not a high traffic area.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
A schoolboy's lucky to be alive after a sickening hit and run in Sydney's inner west overnight. The 13-year-old was riding his bike when he was struck. The driver fleeing the scene, only to hand himself in this afternoon.
A 13-year-old boy injured and bleeding by the side of the road, the victim of this speeding driver who mowed him down at Leichhardt last night and kept going.
He looked in pretty bad shape to me. He was bloodied. He was saying, "I don't want to die."
The Year 8 student had been staying at a friend's house when they jumped on their bikes. The 2 boys riding up Excelsior Street around 8:30, the car speeding west on Roos Street when they collided. The speed limit here is 50. This car was going much faster.
Like a very, safe kind of place where kids and families and people walk their dogs and everything like that.
I think it's disgusting that anyone could injure someone and realise that they've hit someone and just keep driving.
We believe that vehicle to be a white Audi hatch. The vehicle did not stop. The vehicle was last seen fleeing the scene at high speed.
Paramedics treating the schoolboy for a broken collarbone and internal bleeding. The boy's condition has improved since being taken here to Sydney Children's Hospital. Those who were with him last night amazed his injuries weren't worse or fatal. Police had been asking for public help to find the driver, but this afternoon a 22-year-old man handed himself in at Newtown Police Station, being questioned tonight.
So if you're involved in an accident, the obligations upon you are to stop.
Andrew Denny, 7 News.
A shopkeeper is tonight recovering in hospital after he was stabbed trying to stop a group of teenage thieves in Sydney's west. The convenience store has been targeted more than half a dozen times. Residents now calling for more police to patrol the area.
For the 7th time in 5 years, a Penrith convenience store is declared a crime scene. A Petramart shopkeeper petrified when 3 teens masked, one armed with a knife, ran in to steal vapes and tobacco just before midnight. The 22-year-old man tried to stop them. His hand was slashed.
That's pretty sad. Yeah, pretty scary. The guys who run it are good guys.
Neighbours missed the commotion, but they heard the aftermath.
They were just laughing, very, very loud, like as though they've made a plan, they're going to carry it out, and it's hilarious.
The worker was taken to Nepean Hospital. He's recovering from surgery, but he's shaken. Staff are fed up. The community is too.
We get lots of younger people trying to come into the building, so they call our rooms, our apartment, and, you know, I've got a delivery here. Yeah, so that's a little bit scary, and they'll consistently do it as well.
Police are confident they know who they are looking for. They are tonight trying to track them down. They say it's only a matter of time until they catch these culprits and charge them. Residents getting behind their local store tonight, counting the cost and cleaning up. Bill Hogan, 7 News.
A teenager has been charged over a brawl between 2 groups of schoolboys at Fairfield train station. The 17-year-old is accused of stealing a crutch from a man to use as a weapon during the fight. He was arrested at a home in Cabramatta yesterday afternoon and refused bail. Police haven't ruled out further arrests. Donald Trump, his sons and associates have been ordered to pay more than $500 million after being found guilty of orchestrating a decade-long fraud scheme.
The former president's also banned from doing business in New York for 3 years. He is certain to appeal the ruling, describing the case as a witch hunt.
Donald Trump's self-styled image of brash mogul with a cunning business sense today unravelling in the city where he made his name.
These are people that shouldn't be allowed to do the things they do.
Trump's empire slugged a $500 million fine for fraudulently inflating the net worth of his sprawling property portfolio, puffing up the value and size of assets like his Mar-a-Lago estate and his New York towers to secure cheaper loans.
Donald Trump engaged in deceptive business practices and tremendous fraud.
His adult sons slapped with $6 million penalties, his former CFO $1.5 million, while the former president is now banned from serving as a director on any New York company and from applying for business loans for 3 years.
The scale and the scope of Donald Trump's fraud is staggering, and so too is his ego.
A cantankerous defendant during a 2-week hearing, Trump was described by the presiding judge today as having a total lack of contrition and remorse, bordering on pathological.
We'll appeal, we'll be successful.
This ruling falls a fraction short of the corporate death penalty that prosecutors had been gunning for. Still, it's set to sting the man who's built an empire and an image on this idea that he's been successful in business.
He's been a grifter since day one.
Does he have the money to pay, or will he be forced to liquidate prized assets? Questions now facing the man who claimed he had the Midas touch. In New York City, David Woywood, 7 News.
Well, the world's biggest pop star has performed to the biggest crowd of her career, delighting more than 90,000 Swifties in Melbourne.
After performing for 3.5 hours last night, Taylor Swift will take to the stage in just over an hour to do it all again.
Miss Americana Down Under.
Just gonna remember all of this that I got to look at one Friday night in Melbourne.
Making history.
This is the biggest show that we have done on this tour.
And dreams come true. Milana Bruno is the lucky little fan taking home more than just memories.
Yeah. Did you think in your wildest dreams you'd be on stage with Taylor?
Not really.
The 9-year-old brought to tears given the most priceless piece of merch, a signed hat.
All my friends texted me and stuff like that, like, did you get this? Did you get that?
For fans, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a 3.5-hour trip through Taylor's 10 eras. From the premium seats to the nosebleeds, the stadium filled by 96,000 Swifties. Not only the biggest crowd of her career, but also the biggest crowd in a decade for any female performer. Not even counting the thousands of tailgaters.
What happened? Why are we out here and not in there?
Because we didn't get tickets!
Ticketless, but taking it all in from the outside. And as Taylor revealed the Bolter bonus track to her new album, fans were beside themselves.
I've never had an album where I needed songwriting more.
Before fireworks and confetti took over the midnight sky. And on Tay Day 2, the megastar made a mega donation to Food Bank.
Thanks to Taylor, we've got thousands of people across Victoria now with a bigger smile on their face.
As Swifties prepare for Taylor's second concert tonight.
And Lucy McLeod is outside the gates at the MCG for us now. Lucy, good evening to you. Here's the most obvious question I'll ever ask in my career. How excited are the fans?
Well, why don't we ask them, Masha? How excited are we, guys? We're not forecasting any midnight rain, but I can tell you, Masha, that sparks will fly tonight. We're expecting 100,000 fans. This one here is my favourite. We're expecting them all to sing their hearts out as their wildest dreams come true. What do we think, guys? It's a place to be.
Hang on, can I just confirm that is a cat? So has someone taken their cat to the concert?
This is
all right, there you go.
the cat.
Not going mad.
Anything goes here.
Absolutely, you said it. All right, Lucy McLeod there at the MCG. The pet cat as well. There you go.
All your hard-hitting journalism.
All right, let's check the weather now with Amber Laidler. What do we say, Amber? But it was warm and sunny here.
Good evening, Michael, Angela. Yeah, mostly settled conditions across the city today. Under clear skies, we reached maximums in the 30s across most of the Sydney Basin. 34 degrees was the top at Penrith and also down at Badgerys Creek. While we've enjoyed those settled conditions across Metro Sydney, we have seen some cloud cover increasing this afternoon with severe thunderstorms developing across this zone in yellow here, those storm cells producing heavy rainfall, including down at Bowral, as you can see here in the Southern Highlands. Meanwhile, Bilpin in the Hawkesbury recorded 37 millimetres in 40 minutes just before 3:30. Those storms have temporarily eased, but we could see them redevelop tonight with the forecast showing there is more rain on the way. We'll have all the details in your 7-day outlook. That's coming up soon, Andrew Michael.
Okay, thank you, Amber. Prince Harry speaks out about his father's cancer battle. Coming up, why he thinks it could bring the family closer together.
Court red-handed the search for a man spotted keying cars in our northwest.
A groundbreaking new treatment for advanced melanoma. That's later.
Barrelling through the streets and slamming into cars, a man leads police on a destructive chase.
And just dropping in, a hot air balloon comes down in the strangest of places. Thank you for watching 7 News. Police are on the hunt for a man spotted keying cars in the Rouse Hill area. A Tesla camera caught him in the act in the parking lot of a shopping centre. Detectives are treating the incident as an act of malicious damage. Anyone who recognises the man is urged to call Crime Stoppers. Prince Harry has acknowledged his father's fight against cancer could help unite the royal family. For the first time, the Prince has spoken publicly about his rush visit to see King Charles soon after his diagnosis was made public.
He's the Californian royal, a world apart from family, just as his dad begins a battle with cancer.
What's sort of your outlook on his health?
that stays between me and him.
Prince Harry saying he learned of the illness in a phone call with his father.
I jumped on a plane and went to go and see him as soon as I could.
How was that visit for you emotionally?
Look, I love my family. The fact that I was able to get on a plane and go and see him and spend any time with him, I'm grateful for that.
For now, Buckingham Palace has given few details, saying doctors have diagnosed King Charles with a form of cancer. He's postponed public-facing duties and has begun a schedule of regular treatments. The Prince's comments came as he visited Canadian ski resort Whistler to promote next year's Invictus Games for injured ex-servicemen and women. Prince Harry pressed on whether the King's illness might have a reunifying effect on his family.
Yeah, I'm sure. Throughout all these families, I see it on a day-to-day basis. The strength of the family unit coming together.
Harry also acknowledged he has considered American citizenship, though said it wasn't a pressing issue for him. The Prince taking a ride on a bobsled, at one point reaching 99 kilometres an hour. Tim Lester, 7 News.
2 teenagers have been charged over the Kansas City Chiefs Parade shooting that killed a woman and injured more than 20 people. They're accused of gun-related offences and resisting arrest. A third person who was taken into custody has been released. Detectives expect to lay further charges soon. As the city recovers from the attack, it's been revealed the singer we've been talking about this evening, Taylor Swift, has donated more than $150,000 to support the family of the woman killed.
There's been a heart-stopping police chase in the US state of Maryland. A man hijacked a tow truck and went barrelling through busy streets, at one point colliding with several police cars. Officers tried to corner the driver in an empty parking lot, but he sped into a paddock with equipment on the back of the truck, snagging electrical wires. Police eventually caught up with him, smashing the truck's windows and taking the man into custody.
An unexpected visitor dropped into a Canberra backyard this morning. The pilot of a hot air balloon making an emergency landing in the suburb of Lyons. No one was injured, but it did create a bit of a spectacle for the local residents. The balloon has since been deflated and removed.
Carjacked at a busy shopping strip. Up next, a grandmother tells 7 News she was duped by a man she thought was a kind stranger.
The great housing boom, which Sydney suburbs are predicted to rapidly expand in just a few years.
Look what AI can do now. The technology enters a new era.
And in sport, all the spine-tingling action from the All-Stars clash, but Latrell Mitchell and Brandon Smith hobble off with injuries.
A grandmother who fell victim to a carjacking has turned sleuth to help detectives close in on the thief.
He swindled his way into the senior's vehicle and she's told 7 News he's now racking up a bill on her credit card.
Reliving the moment she fell victim to a callous carjacking. 73-year-old Annette, a grandmother, had just finished at the doctor's when a heartless thug took advantage of her trust.
Guy came up and said I had a flat tyre, so I turned around, walked to the back of the car, and then I looked up and he was in the seat.
He locked the doors. Annette begged him to hop out.
I just grabbed that door handle and I'm yelling, "Help, help."
Bystanders rushed to help the grandmother in distress, but soon her station wagon mounted the footpath and took off, leaving Annette in shock. Her wallet and phone were inside. Fearing she could have ended up in hospital, the very place she was going to visit her sick husband.
He's really not in a good place at the moment. So I was so panicky. What am I going to do? No car.
Left bewildered as to how this could happen just across the road from a police station. The thief remains on the run but is believed to be in Queensland. Annette has been helping detectives track him down with her credit card statements, which showed her card was used to buy food 3 hours north in Gympie.
7-Eleven, McDonald's, Hungry Jack's.
Her Nissan also remains outstanding with plates EXT15S.
It's not fair and someone has got to do something.
Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
Well, barely weeks after the disappearance of Samantha Murphy, a new tragedy has shaken communities around Ballarat. A mother of 5 has been killed, believed to be at the hands of her bikie partner, who then took his own life. It's believed Rebecca Young was stabbed to death at her home in Sebastopol in front of her children. The deaths are now the subject of a homicide investigation.
Wild weather has led to the collapse of a highway in Brazil. A drone operated by emergency crews was hovering above the cracking road in the country's south when it suddenly gave way, sending bitumen and debris into a nearby river. It comes after weeks of torrential rain and widespread flooding.
Don't be fooled, these videos might look real, but they're entirely computer generated. A new artificial intelligence tool known as Sora has launched online, and it can take any text prompt and turn it into a short video. The technology has impressed even the most hardened AI experts, who say it will transform content creation.
Pockets of Sydney are on the verge of a property boom, but there's a fresh warning tonight to be cautious about buying apartments off the plan. It comes as new data reveals when it comes to buying a unit, the inner west is the pick for long-term gain.
A period-style home in Glebe with a history-making price tag. More than $3 million for 2 bedrooms, $380,000 above reserve.
It wasn't that long ago I remember these houses selling for $1.5 million. The market has performed really well.
When it comes to the prices for units in just a year in Glebe, they've gone up 4%. Price growth in the Inner West Council area is the most notable, up more than 8% in Petersham, Marrickville, 14% in Summer Hill. Other strong suburbs include Narwee and Rosebery, up more than 9%.
These areas are very aesthetically pleasing in the sense that there's a lot of architecture, there's a lot of beautiful homes.
Increased housing supply is on the way for parts of Sydney. New data has revealed by 2027 more than 5,400 homes are set to be built in Leppington, just shy of that in Parramatta, and in Kellyville, 4,400.
75 to 80% of those purchasing for the first time will choose a unit, many off a plan. But experts warn, buyer beware, you'll need a reputable builder. The most common problems are the blowout in construction time and structural defects.
I definitely think buying a unit that's already built is better for you, and you probably get better value, because off the plan apartments are generally a little bit overpriced.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
He went out for a jog one morning and never made it back. Still to come, a tribute to an Australian baseballer taken too soon.
NASA captures an eruption on the surface of the sun.
We're along for a ride as a treasured two-wheeler makes a comeback.
And a full-strength Roosters side pushed by the undermanned Seagulls, but where is Josh Schuster?
A new baseball field has been built in honour of player Chris Lane, who was murdered while out for a jog in the US.
His partner Sarah flew in to be there with his family for what was an emotional day for all involved.
10 years in the making, Chris Lane's legacy still lives on. This baseball field, a permanent tribute to the young player who was killed in the US. Today is the first time a game has been played here. Dad Peter Lane watching on just as he did for Chris.
He was just a basic good kid. He didn't have pretensions about his ability. He knew where he stood with the sport. He knew where he stood in life. He was a hard worker. He was a fun kid.
Chris Lane was murdered in a random and senseless drive-by shooting in Oklahoma in 2013. The 22-year-old pursuing his dream of playing Major League Baseball. Today, hundreds came together in his honour.
I use the baseball club as a place to come and just have a sit and quiet think sometimes. So to now have something here, particularly for Chris, it just means that much more.
This is one of the only dedicated Little League fields in the country, right here in the heart of Essendon where Chris grew up. His family hoping it will inspire others with their own baseball journeys.
There are Little League people on a big league experience is what we're saying, and it's going to introduce more kids to our game. They're all going to remember Chris.
His father with a message for everyone who has shown his family and him support over the past decade.
Look, it's just a thank you. People, because it has taken 10 years, people could have lost heart, people could have got worn out, people could have said it got too hard, but none of them have. They've all just pitched in.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
NASA's observatory has recorded a stunning solar flare. The powerful burst of energy, which ranks among the most intense on record, happened yesterday afternoon. And for scale, this video shows just how big it was compared to the size of Earth. Flares and solar eruptions can affect radio communications and sometimes pose a risk to astronauts and spacecraft.
A small Tasmanian town has turned back the clock with dozens of cyclists hopping on penny farthings for an event like no other.
The penny brings out a certain type that I feel like I'm in my people, so, you know.
The weather, the location, the racers, it's just, what else would you be doing on a Saturday?
The very old-fashioned bicycles compete in various events, including a very long 32-kilometre circuit.
Teaching immune cells to recognise cancer and fight back. Coming up, the treatment for advanced melanoma that's giving patients fresh hope. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Jelisa's here with Sport Now. Jelisa, some injury concerns for a number of the big players ahead of the Vegas Open.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. The All-Stars clash was spectacular, but it left two stars hobbling off the field, while a big-name Seagulls player won't fly out with his teammates. We'll have those details next. Plus, aside, all cricket fans want to see Will Pucovski fit and firing on his battling return in the Sheffield Shield. And the hole-in-one that earned a PGA player and his caddy their own rides home.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Weekend Sunrise.
What do you love about it? Why do you keep going back?
Happy days over here.
Unbelievable.
I found a shark. What is the story?
Everyone, good work, good show.
Do not miss it. It's going to be a cracker.
Start with Weekend Sunrise.
Right now. Playing the season opener in Las Vegas now seems like a long shot for Manly's Josh Schuster, a late withdrawal from this afternoon's trial against the Roosters. While the Knights thrash the Sharks in Gosford, a star-studded Roosters struggle to beat the undermanned Seagulls.
No feather dusters for this trial on the end of a star-studded backline. Dom Young, 2023's top try scorer. 25 for the Knights last season, followed by his first for the Roosters. The winger showing plenty of pace and cover, but couldn't stop the Seagulls going length of the field.
He finds Paolalo for the line.
Pressure on Young's neck placed acting Seagull captain Toff Sipley on report. Manly Stars liked what they saw. Before class prevailed, Roosters 36-22. Next week, Vegas.
We're off on Wednesday and, we're really keen.
From first play between the Knights and Sharks, drama.
Straight away, sadly, there's a problem for the Newcastle Knights.
Christian Mapapalangi KO'd in the opening tackle. Relief from all players. A Category 1 concussion, out for at least 7 days. Prop Tom Hazelton sparked the Sharks into action.
They're away. Jesse Culhern gets the ball away. Atkinson kicks. Sione Katoa!
Hazelton on report for this shot on Matt Croker. Panthers premiership winner Jack Cogger staking a strong claim to be Newcastle's starting halfback.
Cogger!
Knights 44, Sharks 18. Still to play, a bleached Kalen Ponga and a re-signed Bradman Best.
Not to be content with last year and keep improving and be bigger and better this year.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Eels players vowed to make a fast start to this season against the Raiders tonight. Prop Opahiki Ogden kept their word, barging over inside 8 minutes. 10-all near half-time, with Cogra also hosting the Charity Shield later tonight between the Dragons and the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs and Roosters face a nervous wait just days out for flying for Las Vegas. Both Latrell Mitchell and Brandon Smith failing to finish last night's All-Stars game. The unofficial start to the NRL season was a celebration of a coming together of cultures. Spine-tingling, emotional and powerful. And that's before a ball has even been kicked. The All-Stars game itself almost secondary to the Māori and Indigenous cultural displays.
I've got a newborn son. I get to represent my 2 daughters. You know, I'm creating warriors, so I love that aspect. The week's been perfect.
Māori captain Joe Tapane, first to get points on the board in 2024.
Oh, the Canberra powerhouse is over.
Latrell Mitchell setting up Josh Addo-Carr minutes later.
Addo-Carr is in.
He hadn't scored in the All-Stars since 2019. He soon had a second.
Addo Carr's got a first quarter double.
The class of the Indigenous side's backline too strong, finishing 22-14 winners.
Proud of my teammates, my boys, my brothers, my family, and we've got to represent tonight.
The captain playing down an injury scare after failing to finish the game following a knee complaint.
Just a bit of wear and tear, a bit of bark off, but other than that, I'm ready for Vegas.
Roosters star Brandon Smith also leaving the field with a head knock.
He's mostly trying to say he's okay because he wants to go to Vegas now. So, I think it's the first game for most of those boys, and the games there's going to be some bumps and bruises.
South Africa is showing fight in the one-off test in Perth, but an Australian victory seems inevitable. Wickets tricky to come by for the hosts on day 3. Ash Gardner breaking the deadlock with 2 quick scalps after lunch. The Proteas 7 for 210 at tea.
Beautifully taken, Annabelle Sutherland.
The Aussies still lead by 289 runs, largely thanks to Annabelle Sutherland's brilliant 210, the 4th highest score in a women's test.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Probably hasn't quite sunk in yet what exactly it means to me.
That knock guided Australia to the biggest total in women's test history, declaring it 9 for 575 last night, following South Africa's first innings 76. After more health scares, Will Pucovski made an impressive return to first-class batting today. The one-time Test player notching 69 not out for Victoria against New South Wales on day 2 of their Sheffield Shield clash at the SCG. There's a new member in the 500 Test wickets club.
Huge milestone for an absolute great.
Ravi Ashwin, just the 9th player to reach the milestone when he took Zach Crawley's scalp on day 2 of the 3rd test between India and England. Hours later, the spinner pulling out of the test for a family emergency. Ben Duckett's 153 off 151 balls, the cornerstone of the tourist 319 on day 3 in response to India's first innings 445. Joe Root left red-faced by his Bazball-inspired dismissal on just 18. With a playoff spot and the future of their coach up in the air, the Kings need a win against the Phoenix in tonight's final regular season game. With 6-time NBA champs Scottie Pippen backing the Victorians, Sydney left nothing to chance.
And Adams back the other way, steps back, cans the triple. There they go.
The Kings led 63-39 at half-time. A win locks in a top 6 spot. Fans enjoyed every moment on Mount Panorama for Bathurst 12-hour qualifying today. In the support categories, chaos.
Riffo's trying to get by and just gets tagged, completely unaware that that car's going to be coming at you from the wrong angle.
MotoGP legend Valentino Rossi returns to race for a second year. His team WRT starts 8th on the grid tomorrow morning. Coverage from 5:30 a.m. on 7mate. Illness, not injury, forced Tiger Woods to withdraw from his comeback tournament at the Genesis Invitational. The 15-time major winner played 6 holes in the second round at Riviera before succumbing to the flu. On par 3 14th, American Will Zalatoris won himself and his caddy each a new car.
It looked good the whole way.
You get a car, and you get a car because you just made an ace at 14.
Australia's Jason Day is tied for second, 5 shots behind leader Patrick Cantlay at 13 under. It's not quite the prize money, but coming away with a car, a ride home, it's not too bad.
It's a good win.
Yeah, you'll be pretty happy.
Thanks, Jelisa.
Thank you.
Well, a groundbreaking new treatment for advanced melanoma has just been approved for use in the United States.
It uses a person's own immune cells to fight the skin cancer, and while it's not in Australia yet, there are hopes it will one day be available to treat a range of tumours.
How's your workout?
It was good.
Dan Bennett's life was saved by his daughter Faith 13 years ago.
I had a brown freckle on my neck, and she told me I should go get that checked out.
That freckle was melanoma, a deadly form of skin cancer starting 3 years of surgery and radiation as it spread through Dan's body.
Nobody can tell if something's going to move from your right armpit to your left armpit.
to any other lymph node.
It also went to his brain. He would live because of a treatment called TIL, tumour infiltrating lymphocyte therapy, today approved by the FDA. That's the US Food and Drug Administration, the equivalent of Australia's TGA. The therapy developed in special labs like this.
Here's where we take the tumours.
Using a patient's own immune cells taken from inside the tumour, multiplied and stored in these vats.
We would take out a tumour and then send it immediately to the lab, where the lab would grow out the immune cells from the tumour, expand them to billions, and then give them back to the patient ultimately.
In clinical trials, 30 to 40% of patients saw their cancer shrink or disappear. TIL therapy is not yet available in Australia, partly because of the cost, but also the lack of specialised knowledge and facilities. The West Australia Melanoma Initiative is hoping to change that using $3.5 million in grants, providing new hope for the 17,000 Australians who are diagnosed with melanoma each year. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Amber is back now with the forecast. Amber, what's the latest on those storms?
Well, Ange, I mentioned we could see them redevelop, and a few cells have. One particular over the Blue Mountains, with parts of Sydney expecting widespread showers in parts tomorrow. All the details are coming up next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines. Vladimir Putin is facing a diplomatic storm over the death of Kremlin critic Alexi Navali.
More illegal immigrants have been found in Western Australia a day after a boat arrived from Pakistan.
A driver has handed himself in after allegedly striking a teenage boy and fleeing the scene.
And Taylor Swift has played her biggest ever show, wowing the crowd at the MCG.
Now, here's Amber with Sydney's weather. Amber.
Thank you, Michael. We're enjoying mostly settled conditions across Sydney tonight in a gentle easterly breeze. It's currently hovering around 25 degrees in the city. We reach that top of 31 shortly after 2 p.m. We do have storm warnings active elsewhere tonight, though. One is active for the northwestern suburbs of Sydney, with a chance those cells could deliver heavy rainfall totals and potentially some hail. Those slow-moving storms are being triggered by a moist and unstable air mass over the ranges. Others are developing along this trough through the southern inland this afternoon. A ridge of high pressure and a broad trough of low pressure are directing humid southeast to northeasterly winds across the state. This pattern is forecast to persist into next week, so we will see more unsettled conditions. But let's take a look around the capital tomorrow. Brisbane is expecting a mostly sunny top of 30 degrees, a late shower or two possible in Canberra, possibly a storm, tops of 31. A partly cloudy 23 on the way for Melbourne, partly cloudy also in Hobart, a mostly sunny 33 degrees forecast in Adelaide, while over in the west, heatwave warnings are in place. Perth is expecting a top of 43 degrees tomorrow, with a shower or two, and 32 on the way for Darwin. Taking a look statewide, you can see those widespread showers. We should see some sunshine in parts during the morning, though. That wet weather is mostly forecast later in the day. Remaining dry at Newcastle, though, a mostly sunny 30 degrees is the forecast top there, on the way to 36 tomorrow at Wagga Wagga and also down at Albury. If we zoom in now on the Sydney Basin, we can see some showers developing, most likely across the outer west, as you can see here on the radar image. Tops are generally hovering in the low 30s, while along the coast, mostly settled conditions are forecast, reaching 29 degrees at Gosford and also at Manly. 26 degrees is expected tomorrow at Mona Vale, Bondi and also at Cronulla. On the water tomorrow, looking pretty settled. Winds should run north to northeasterly at up to 15 knots to start, decreasing to around 10 knots early in the morning though. But back in the CBD, 29 degrees is the forecast top under partly cloudy skies, dipping to 21 overnight. We do have those afternoon showers forecast across the outer west late tomorrow, but across Sydney we've got showers increasing on Monday and again on Tuesday, most likely during the afternoon and evening. Temperatures though are set to start climbing again, reaching 34 degrees in the city on Friday, on the way to 37 degrees in the western suburbs. So we do have a little bit of everything on the way here, Michael and Angela, but looking like a particularly wet start to the working week.
And possibly steamy. Okay, thanks so much, Amber. That is 7 News for this Saturday. We will have updates for you throughout the evening.
Weekend Sunrise starts from 7 tomorrow. From all the 7 News team here, thanks so much for your company. Have a great Saturday night.
Good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.